National Football League has been one of the great American pastimes since 1920. It has provided the nation with much more than just entertainment for almost a century. Many people believe that the NFL is only a sport, but in reality it has graced the United States with a sense of hope and camaraderie by providing a nice escape from the tough circumstances of life. Not having an NFL football season could prove to be much more detrimental than meets the eye. As the 2011 football season rapidly approaches, the NFL lockout looms over the heads of many Americans. It is beneficial to understand the NFL lockout because it helps you to understand the much forgotten business side of the NFL. It also helps you to understand to what extent the NFL lockout could affect lives. And finally, it helps you to make your own opinion on whether or not we will have an NFL football season this year. Today I will discuss 3 different aspects that make up the NFL lockout. First, I will discuss the key issues that make up this year's lockout. I will describe the owner's point of view on the lockout. And finally, I will describe the player's point of view on the owner's demands for the lockout. We'll start with the key issues of the lockout. This lockout is a result of many unresolved issues between 2 conflicting sides. In a 1987 article for the Los Angeles Times by Gene Wachowski, he details a previous lockout in the year 1982, in which it took 57 days into the regular season before the sides would compromise after losing millions and millions of dollars in salaries and revenues. This goes to show that the 2011 lockout is not new ground for the United States. Will Brinson, a reporter for CBS Sports, gives a detailed article in 2011 on the key issues that make up this year's lockout. This year's lockout is made up of 2 sides, the NFL and the NFL Players Association. The NFL is made up of the 28 team owners who directly receive the revenues from the league. The NFL Players Association is made up of veteran players and their lawyers in a union group that represents all the players in the NFL. There are many key issues that make up this year's lockout, mostly centered around money. Perhaps the main issue is how to divide up $9 billion worth of revenue that the league generates every year. 2 other issues, also involving money, are whether or not to change salary cap and rookie pay scale. The 2 final smaller issues in the lockout involve lengthening the regular season and how long to make the lockout contract in order for us not to have another lockout situation again in another couple of years. Understanding the issues that compose the lockout helps us to understand the arguments of both opposing groups involved. We will start with the owners group. The 28 NFL owners are a group that comprise the workings of the NFL and therefore want the NFL to be run a certain way. Brian Frederick, a reporter for the Huffington Post, gives a detailed article on the owner's point of view in this lockout. The NFL owners are a group of shrewd businessmen who want to maximize their profits in every way possible. In order to maximize these profits, they are proposing that they get an extra $1 billion from the $9 billion generated revenue this season, along with cutting salary cap and rookie pay scale in order to cut costs and avoid unfortunate incidents. An example of one of these incidents involves the quarterback Jamarcus Russell for the Oakland Raiders, who a couple of years ago received $60 million in guaranteed contract money after only playing a couple games and eventually leaving the league due to personal issues and problems with the law. The owners also claim they need this money because of rising economic costs. Due to the recent economic decline of the United States, the NFL also faces profit declines everywhere from a decline of merchandise sales to a lower game attendance. The final cost that the owners are using as a bargaining chip in this lockout is the multi-million-dollar stadiums that they are constructing all over the United States, which must be paid for in a certain amount of time and cannot face any profit loss. Understanding where the owners are coming from is only one side of the issue. Now let's take a look at where the players are and their argument. Though the players are not directly receiving revenue from the league, they deserve certain rights because of the integral role they play in the league. Jonathan Weiler, also a reporter for the Huffington Post, gives a detailed article on the players' side of the issue in this year's lockout. The players' wealth is many times, I feel, stereotyped by the average American. People only think of superstars and first-round draft picks and the drastic amounts of money they receive in their contracts. But in reality, players play an average of 3.6 years in the NFL and receive an average of $770,000 per season. Though this seems like a huge sum of money to the average American, it is practically nothing compared to the sums the owners are making. So the players feel that they deserve to be compensated more because of the drastic amounts the owners are receiving. Another reason that the players deserve they should get more money is because of the physical risk they take on the field. They take all of the physical risk while the owners take none. It is a proven statistic that the life of an NFL player is oftentimes drastically shortened due to the beating they take on the field, and they must learn to live with chronic pain in their joints for the rest of their lives. Today I informed you as to what the NFL lockout actually comprises. In conclusion, the NFL lockout is a complex issue in which both sides must be taken into contention before the issue can be resolved. There are three aspects of the lockout which are key to understand. First, the central issues that comprise the lockout. Next, the owner's side of the lockout. And finally, what the players think and where they are coming from in the lockout. Because you now understand what the lockout is and why they're having a lockout, you will be able to see why it takes so long to resolve this lockout issue. Now that you understand the issues of the lockout, you should be able to form your own opinion and your own ideas on how you think the lockout should be resolved.